Hi, it's Kathy from Raven Vintage. Welcome to day 5 of the 100-day project. I am doing 100 days of envelopes. So let's just recap what I've done. This was day 1. It was a reel. It was my introductory video. Day 2, here on YouTube, we did an inside cover pocket using a large envelope. We did this open-facing page wrap that is both serving as a pocket on this side and then also a pocket on this side using the flap for something narrow, and then this flapping open doesn't interfere with your writing space. And then we did this slotted pocket. Now I know I said slit pocket in the original video, but YouTube doesn't like that word, so I've changed it to slotted pocket. So there's 3 slots there. And then that opens up and is also a pocket in the envelope itself. So I did change that to slotted pocket. And I did explain before that I will be removing some of this ephemera eventually because it's just going to be too bulky. But for the purposes of demonstration, I'll leave it in for a few days. This was day 3, so demonstrating using my texture boutique from Sizzix to get some texture, and then I inked that envelope and I did the page wrap. So we have a pocket there with the envelope, and then it covers up a photo like that. So that was day 3. Day 4, I did a dissected envelope where I took the envelope, cut it, actually it was open like this, and I cut it right down the middle. And then I used 1/2 for this project here, and then the other half was this direction, and I cut it on an angle like that and used a pouch there. So this was done on a reel, so there is no YouTube video tutorial for this, but I did a reel, which I think you can, from the reel, can figure out basically how to do that. And then this is the other half of that half of the envelope. So it's a pouch, and then I glued it 3 ways, so there's a pocket behind. So that was day 4. Okay, so for day 5, first I want to show you a couple honorable mentions, some things I was practicing with. I had these really large envelopes. I thought, how can I use those? So I had this idea to do this trifold thing, like a pull-out like that, where you could still have your document inside, but it's really, really bulky. So I tore that out of the book, and I tried another one to see if it was a little bit thinner. I used sewing pattern paper, thinking that would be a little bit thinner, but it's still quite bulky, especially when you add your document to the envelope. So I pulled them out just simply because I thought that would be too bulky. However, if you had a larger, like a 6x9 or something envelope, that is a consideration of something that you could do. If you were looking to bulk up a journal, like look at, they're pretty thick. So I also thought about a closure, and just to show you what I thought maybe a closure like this, so it could just tuck underneath. The problem with that is once you do this, you can't open it up. So it would definitely have to be something on a swinging, like with a brad that swung, so that you could swing it out of the way and then swing it back over with a brad. But I don't have any brads out here. I'm still at my kitchen table, so I think tomorrow I go back to my craft room. Okay, so today, day 5. Okay, so I'm going to do something very similar where I'm going to cut this envelope in half, but I am going to do it a little bit differently. So I'm just going to cover my page quickly. Oops. Again, I'm working with a big box of envelopes that I have that I want to use up. And I'm also working with my test prints. So I am primarily a printables designer, and that is mainly what I do. So I have an Etsy store and I sell my printables. So as I'm designing things, I do a test print just to see you know, it's one thing on the screen, but it might look a little differently once it's printed. So I always do a test print before those go out, and then I can make the adjustments from there. Sometimes I have to print it 2 or 3 times to get it right, but yeah, so I do test prints and then I keep those and use them. So they are perfect for this project because some of them might not be the final look or the final product. This one, for example, got wet, so that's fine. But they are perfect for adding backdrops to these envelope projects. So you will, if you're following me on this 100-day journey, you probably get to see a lot of my printables. Okay. And if I think of it, I'll try to mention what they are. And sometimes I'm using from 5 or 6 different kits. So it's, these are obviously vintage wallpaper, which sampler kits, the ones with the strips are sampler kits. Yeah, I couldn't tell you right now which, there's so many of them, so many. Okay. So this is what I want to do, is I want to cut this in half, basically at that point. So that's why I'm going to open the flap so I can see where the point is. Not a lot of room right here. Okay. So I don't actually know where the center is. A little hard to tell, so I'm just going to cheat. Give myself a little notch here to go by, and I'll cut from the bottom. Looks good. Okay. All right. So I wanted to have a flapped pocket, and then I want to stagger them like this. Flapped pocket, and then also turn this into a side tuck underneath. That is my goal. So I would like these going opposite directions, either way. Okay, so I forget where I was. I was just called to snack duty. So sorry about that. Let me see. So basically I've cut that larger envelope that would not fit on the page either way. Like it's just too, it would stick it. Well, it's fine if it sticks out a little bit. It would have been okay, but I thought I need to find some way to use this that's not, where it's going to fit and fill up more of the page without being too bulky. The other option would be to stagger them over like this and decorate the page. Actually do it like that, where the envelope was originally together, like this. So I don't know, what do you think? We could do, I kind of like the staggered thing here. I really want to try this staggered bit. So I just want to decorate these first. I'm going to set the journal to the side, or my book of ideas. Here's a scrap piece. Let's see if I can make this work. Yeah. So for this section, I am just doing a voice overlay. There's a little bit of chaos going on at my house at the moment with kids and dogs. So what I am just demonstrating here is that I had originally thought I could do one solid piece that would wrap around the flap, but I neglected to realize that if I did that, it's the back of the envelope that I'd be gluing to. Well, technically, I guess it's the front of the envelope that would be getting glued to the page. So that wraparound idea wasn't going to work. So instead, I kept the piece that I traced with the flap open. And then I just cut it into 2 pieces so that I could glue them to the face or the part of the envelope that is facing us, if that makes sense. So that way, yeah, see that part there, the white that you're looking at right now, that's going to get glued down. So my idea originally was not going to work, but it worked out by cutting the top piece separate so that I could just put that on the inside of the flap, if that makes sense. Okay, now let's do the second piece, the other envelope. And this time I'm not going to attempt to trace the whole flap. I'm just going to cover the rectangular part and then do the flap separately. I'm just using my glue stick, and I find out later that things weren't sticking that well and I have to add a little more glue. But for now, the glue stick is working just fine. These two envelopes, this scrap piece of paper I'm using is from Rose Rebelle. That's the name of that kit, Rose Rebelle. It's a really lovely kit. But I really love the text there and that vintage stamp overlay. So this is, you know, another great way to use up scraps too, just in pieces like this. See how that glue stick's just not working? I have to keep going back and adding some, that's art glitter glue in a precision bottle, refillable bottle. It's my go-to. That's the glue I love using all the time. So just about finished trimming this, and then to decide how to lay these in the book of ideas. And both of the envelopes are still open from cutting the envelope down the middle, so I have yet to glue down the sides. So now I'm gluing down the sides, closing the envelopes back up. So the part I'm gluing obviously was the center cut of the original full envelope. The flaps coming down, I left them white, and I'm just going to distress ink those. There, so those are now closed up. Both envelopes are done, and I'm going to use walnut distress ink. I used it yesterday, and it's one of those ones that you forget you have and then dig it out and use it, and it's like, oh yeah, I like this. I mean, I use vintage photo most 95% of the time, but once in a while I'll pull out something else out, like walnut or rusty hinge or something like that. It's just nice for a change. So let's just zoom through this inking part. Nobody needs to sit there. It's like watching paint dry. Let's just zoom right through this. Okay, so now that we are finished inking all of our edges, I'd like to take a look again to see how I'm going to add these to the page in my book of ideas. My original idea was to stack them, but now, because I have an issue with covering up paper, I don't know why, I'm struggling a little bit with the idea of covering up that pretty paper and stacking them as I had originally planned. So I'm going to try a few things here, just lay them out just to see what I think. It's a nice way to cover both pages, like for the entire spread. But I really did want to do this stacking idea. That was what I had intended in the first place. So now I'm rethinking of how I can stack these, but glue them in a way that I can have multiple pockets. So I'm doing the math here in my head. In my head I was thinking, if I glue this side and that side and this side and only part way this way, part way that way, you'll see here that I do the top, the full one side, and just part way at the bottom. That way I'm leaving an opening not only from the side, but also part of the bottom as a side tuck. I wasn't really sure what was going to work, but in the end, you'll see I was happy with the outcome. There's that paper lifting again from the glue stick. So now this one I'm going to glue so that I can have a top loading pocket behind the envelope and also come in from the side. So I'm thinking like tickets or tabs, or I'm sorry, like small tags. You could do this if, you know, however you like, or just glue them down entirely and not worry about the pockets because you already have the pockets as they are. But you can see I just glued the sides not all of the sides there. And then I'll demonstrate, I think, here in a minute to show where the pocket openings are or could be used as. Now you see that the envelope flap is kind of standing up a little bit, so that needs to be burnished down, but I'll get to that. So there's the original pocket of the envelope itself, and then there, that tag was a little too wide for that, but I'm just demonstrating how it can be used. I had to do some more gluing down there, it looks like there. So side pockets, a side tuck as well, and then there's a pocket there, so that's behind the envelope. So not necessary to do all of those pockets, but I just thought, you know, to trying to get a little bit clever with it as a multi-use idea. And I'm not, like I said, in this book of ideas, if I keep adding ephemera to this, it'll be a huge gator mouth. So, but just demonstrating the original pockets and then some side tucks here. There, something fits. So like I said, you don't have to do that. You could just glue them down entirely and just use the envelopes themselves as pockets. But if you wanted a little extra, you know, we love those alternate pockets, hidden pockets in our junk journals. So the last thing I want to do is just add a number 5 somewhere, showing that this is day 5, and that is something I want to do throughout this project, is to make sure I add the number just to commemorate this project that I'm working on, the 100-day project. So each of these projects will have a number on them somewhere. And then also I like to write whatever name we come up with for the project. Like I said, this is a book of ideas that I will refer back to time and time again. So, and if I want to demonstrate it again, I could pull the book and show it as an example. So this is my ideas to try to figure out where to put this 5. Nothing was making sense. And I think I settled on up there. And then those flaps, I think I mentioned, they need to be burnished down, flattened a little bit, which I think I do just after this. Yeah, they are sticking out a little bit, and if I were to try to close that right now, they would get bent. So let's get those. There we go, Kathy, good job. Those need to be flattened down a little bit, and it helped, it worked. So just by revisiting those creases and the corners, I was able to get them to lay more flat. And then just one more thing to do, and that is to name this project. So it's a little tricky coming up with names because I'm doing similar things with envelopes each day. So I'm trying to differentiate each of the projects so I can remember what the, you know, what the procedure was or what the actual project was. But in this case, I think I decided on stacked as one of the words. And did I say split or halved? I don't know. Let's see. Sip of tea there, and let's see what I ended up writing. Yes, I hold my pen funny. Pencil. Stacked. And what did I write? I can't remember. Oh, halved. It was halved. Halved and stacked. Bit of a tongue twister. But now it has a name, so that will be the title of this video. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with me for day 5. Watch for day 6, likely as a reel or a YouTube short. See you soon. Bye.